Is time running out for XRP? That's what we'll be discussing today in this XRP video. So we have just been going sideways, 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 sideways. You know, we got some dumps, we got some pumps, but mostly sideways. And that's really the most difficult times in the market, right? Because when we're going sideways, we don't have confirmation on which direction we're going. So a lot of times it can really throw people off. Maybe they have a stop limit that gets hit and they start losing money, but then the market goes back up, so then they buy back in, and then it goes back down again, so then they lose money again, and it's just crazy. So the best thing to do, in my opinion, none of this is financial or investment advice, but what I do is I just hold as long as I can if I do think in the long term it's going up. So right now I am holding still. We are right now holding above this 50% level. If we actually, let me adjust this to this peak here. So from the, this is the May peak right there. I can call this May peak. Let me zoom in a little bit. From the May peak down to this level down here, down to the April low, we're still above the 50% level. So that is this line right here. So that's good. I mean, we are still on the stronger side of things, but who knows, XRP could go down here again, and wouldn't be surprised if that happens. It'll probably make it as difficult as possible, as usual. Is that what crypto does? It really messes with our mind. It's all about psychology, in my opinion. It's about fear and greed and how well we can control our emotions in this game, this crazy game that we're playing here. So yeah, we're just been going sideways for a long time. If we look at the monthly here, I mean, the monthly chart is not giving us any major signals other than we had a lot of buyers step in April, which is very good. But then we had a good amount of sellers step in May, and then June is looking so far like we might not get much in either direction if this continues. Then in March, there was a lot of sellers that came in, which was concerning. So, man, I mean, we're just going sideways. What else can we say? This is kind of rough times. But if you think it's going to go up long term, it's better to hold and just keep on hodling. We will dive in. Well, let's go to the 2-month chart. Same thing with the 2-month. I mean, look at this. We're not getting any clarity really for a long time. I mean, January we went way up. Oh, this is January, February we went way up. We had a lot of sellers January, February. But then March, April we went way up. We got a lot of sellers, but then we didn't way down, and we got some buyers. And then May, June, we went all the way up here, and we're seeing a good amount of selling. But man, overall we're just going sideways for the most part. We're stair-stepping up just a tiny bit, but man, very difficult. Let's go to the monthly. Let's see if we see any hints in the stochastic RSI. I mean, it's really tough to... Definitely not going to make any predictions on this, guys. I mean, these markets are crazy. This is on the 2-week scale. I mean, on the 2-week scale, we are seeing... Ignore those lines right there. If we... I don't know if that's legit right there, but we are seeing a little bit of bullish divergence on the weekly scale. Problem with the weekly scale is we've broken down this trend line already, so we would need to at least break up back up to here for another run. But man, this is so tricky. I mean, we're not getting any major hints in the charts from what I'm seeing. I mean, even the stochastic RSI. Well, okay. Stochastic RSI is showing that we could be going up here. That would be bullish, but it could also be a fake out. So we got to wait another week to see If we get a confirmation on bullish momentum upwards, if we do get a confirmation next week, that would be very bullish. And we definitely want to see XRP break out very soon, because this has been a long chapter of waiting. Let's look at how long this wait has been so far. So we go to right here. Ever since we hit this peak back in December, all the way till now, that's 196 days so far. And let's see how long, when we hit the last all-time high, which was around $3.55, all the way back in 2018. I mean, I guess that took quite a long time as well. We got this first peak all the way over here in May. This was arguably a longer wait. 231 days. Wow. Since that first major breakout. So if we have 231 days from the peak, I'm not saying this is what has to happen, but it's just interesting to kind of look at. That would take us all the way out, and that would be another major pump that could happen. Oh, only in July. Holy moly. So that's really interesting. Could we get a breakout in July if history repeats compared to 2017, the major breakouts that we had back then? Wow, that'd be very interesting. Let's take a look at the astrology to see if the astrology shows any hints. But before we do that, really quick, I'm going to look at the XRP versus Bitcoin chart, see if we get any hints in here. I'm not getting my hopes up because, man, this is tricky. Overall, bullish divergence with the RSI here. Not bad, but we definitely want to see a bounce. We want to see a bounce like this week. We want to start bouncing up like that, and that would signal super bullishness. Actually, this is looking really good. I really like this. The XRP versus Bitcoin stochastic RSI has already bottomed out at 0, and if this heads up from here, that is extremely bullish. So we'll have to wait till next week to see if that breaks out. That would be very, very good. Maybe we should just look at the XRP versus Bitcoin chart from now on, because this is showing a little bit more details here. We're still sitting on the 50% level from the peak of January all the way down to the bottom of November of last year. XRP versus Bitcoin. We are right on the 50% level. So that's good. If we can get a bounce off of here within the next week, ideally, that would be extremely bullish. That would be very good. So we are still possibly sitting pretty. Like I said, we got to get that bounce soon, as time could be running out here. We want to see some action in the next week, ideally. I'm going to clean some of this up. But if we look at what happened back in 2017, let's see, we broke out. Let me compare this really quick. So to zoom out here, I'm going to go on the monthly scale. Once again, this is XRP versus Bitcoin. So look at what we did back in April 2017 over here. You know, we broke out above this white line and we just went crazy. And it was good to sell up there, arguably. That's what I would do. But then right now, we're still below this white line. That's at 0.0000344. XRP versus Bitcoin. Who's going to remember that number? So we got to break through that white line. And if we want to see a mega breakout like all XRP warriors want to see, yeah, so if that happened, we could see a major explosive move. So we would want to see some hints in the next week, ideally. But if we can get through that white line at 0.00034, that would be extremely bullish. So that's what we'll be keeping our eyes out for. This next week, I think, is pretty important. So we got to remain a little bit patient. Now let's take a look at the XRP astrology to see if we can see any hints in the right direction. But another thing really quick is that take a look at these bottoms back here. So we had a bottom, you know, all the way back in 2014. We bottomed out here, then we went up, and then a double bottom, and then we had the explosive move. Mega bull run move there. And now here we had a bottom in 2021, and then this is arguably a triple bottom. We had a bottom in June, and then another bottom arguably in November. And then we want to see an explosive move like this again. All right, so hopefully that double bottom, triple bottom arguably can bring us the next explosive move. And then ideally we can sell somewhere up here or anywhere in this yellow box. All right, that's just what I'm thinking, not financial advice. Make y'all's own decisions. Okay, so what we do is on this channel, I get a lot of requests to look at the XRP astrology. And the only thing is we have two charts for XRP astrology. We have June 2nd, 2012, San Francisco. And then we also have December 21, 2012. Let me know in the comments which one you think more accurately represents the XRP Genesis block when XRP first started on the blockchain. But I slightly prefer XRP2, but we're gonna take a look at both of them just to see if we can get an accurate picture as best as we can. So on the 14th, we did have Jupiter sextiling the XRP ascendant, which is positive. We've seen a little bit of strength, but nothing. Actually, we've gotten a little bit of dumps, but it's holding up on that 50% level well. So we'll take that in the short run. But now we are heading later in the month. One really good thing is we have Jupiter trining the XRP Neptune on June 24th. So, you know, that's about 8 days from now. That would be that's positive. So I'm hoping we get a pump within the next 8 days because that transit is quite bullish and quite euphoric. So if we can get a euphoric pump by then, that's what I want to see. So in a sense, time could be running out here. It's a little slightly nerve-wracking. I mean, we also have the Sun trining the XRP Neptune on the 24th as well, bringing even more euphoria there on the 24th. And so that's looking pretty good. Let's go a little bit further into the next major transits. The concern is we have Uranus squaring the XRP ascendant, but that gets a direct hit on August 2nd. So if we do break out, which I want to see ideally second half of this month or in July, heading into August, we could start to see a bit more resistance. And then July 14th, we have Jupiter squaring the XRP Uranus. It's a slightly negative, but it could also signal a breakout. So it's very tricky to predict here, a lot of volatility. But then we have Jupiter opposing the XRP Pluto, which is very explosive. It's really tricky because I can't tell you exactly which direction that explosive move could be, but it could be in either direction. So that's a little concerning there on July 19th. But if we're getting an altcoin run by then, it could be an explosive move up if we get that altcoin run. The problem is we also get Mars squaring the XRP Venus on the 18th, plus Venus squaring the XRP Mars on the 18th, which signals a lot of volatility on the slight negative side. So a little concern there. But like I said, if we're already getting an altcoin run by then I wouldn't worry too much about it. We do get a lot of positive transits on July 25th, July 31st, August 1st, August 3rd, and August 5th. If we're already getting an altcoin run, the end of July could be really good, actually. And then even August 19th, I wouldn't get super optimistic about it, but even that is pretty positive. So balancing that out with this major transit that's a bit more concerning, August 2nd, I'm really hoping we get a move up very soon with this June 24th Jupiter trining the XRP Neptune, as I've mentioned already. Now let's look at the XRP1. This is the December 21st chart. A little bit different here. Let's see if we get any confluence between the two. Pluto is sextiling the XRP ascendant on July 12th. That's on the positive move. So that could actually be an explosive move in July. So I actually really like that. That's good. We will take that. On the 13th, we already had Jupiter trining the XRP Neptune, and we have not gotten a move. We definitely have not gotten a euphoric move up with that. So on this chart, that's why I don't use this chart very much, because I don't think, in my opinion, it's not as accurate, but some other astrologers disagree. Let's look a little bit later in this month. This chart is a little bit more concerning. I mean, we do have on the 15th and the 18th, we do have these positive trines with Venus and Mars, and the XRP Pluto and the XRP Sun. That's good. But then we have Jupiter squaring the XRP Ascendant. Not like a huge concern, but slight concern there on June 22nd. Really tricky to make any predictions here. Because then we have Jupiter squaring the XRP Uranus on June 30th. Tough to say what that could be, but it doesn't get me excited necessarily. If we're already getting a move up from the XRP2, the June 24th, on the XRP2 chart, it was the Jupiter trining the XRP Neptune, then this could be an explosive move up. Otherwise, it's not great. Because then we have Mars squaring the XRP Venus on the 29th, June 29th. This isn't that super exciting, but let's see. Just a lot of volatility. Super hard to predict. Now, the concern is that, again, we have the Uranus squaring the XRP Neptune. On this chart, it's July 28th. I think it's a week or two earlier than the other chart that we were looking at. So a concern there heading from the end of July into August. So if we do get an altcoin run, it could start slowing down at that point. So yeah, in that scenario with the altcoin run, I would probably start selling in August, honestly. That's just what I'm thinking. Really tricky here. So let's see. Anything else? Just more volatility with Jupiter. Really tricky because we have Jupiter trining the XRP Saturn, which is bullish on July 18th. But then the next day we have Jupiter opposing the XRP Pluto, which is just extreme volatility. So it's tough to say if that's up or down, what kind of explosive move we're going to get there. But a lot of extreme energy there could really go in either direction. So we'll have to see what happens really in the next week or two. If XRP gives us a hint, if it's hinting up or down. Then the end of July, we get these nice trines here. I like that. End of July. I mean, there's just so many, positive transits and then negative ones. So just a lot of volatility. Very, very difficult. I wish I could give you guys crystal clarity, 100% accuracy on which direction we're going, but can't do that, guys. Sorry. But not sorry. We should not ever assume that we know with 100% accuracy. That is not how this game works. All right, anyways, so that's the majority of what I wanted to say today. We want to see this move up here on the XRP versus Bitcoin chart. I think this is the chart to be really keeping our eye on here. And I would love to see a bounce here with a stochastic RSI, which would show a lot of momentum coming back into the XRP market. I would also want to see a lot more exchange volume come in here This is for the total crypto market cap. We've been heading down since December, so we're getting a slightly higher low here. We want to get a big move up here in exchange volume. Otherwise, any pumps that we do get, especially with altcoins, might not hold up until this gets a lot more volume, because we need to have high volume and high interest in the market to be able to keep prices going up. All right, that's just kind of how it works. All right, anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in. I also gave a couple altcoins that I bought a little bit more of in the last couple days in my private Telegram group that comes with my Crypto Astro Mastermind. So if you want access to that, check it out. I can also give a much longer XRP astrology update, perhaps all the way through the end of the year, because there's some really interesting things at the end of 2025 for the XRP chart. And my next private call will actually be 3 days from now. And 3 days from now, I'll be giving a live 1 hour presentation on the crypto astrology for Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, Solana, all the coins that are most popular in this market. And you can also ask me your questions privately in that group, and I can answer majority of your questions on the live call. So click the link below if you're interested in that. Otherwise, thanks everybody for tuning in. Let's pray and visualize and meditate on this price going up, because this is our chance here, guys. We want to see this move in the next week or two. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. Let's see what questions we might have. XRP breakout July. Yes, certainly possible. Not guaranteed, but that's what I'm rooting for. Hey, Jack, can you compare how either of your astrologies of XRP lined up with the XRP chart in the past few months? In my opinion, yeah, the XRP2 chart does a bit better. The XRP2 chart, in my opinion, also lined up very well with the 2017 major move. If any of the OGs were invested in XRP all the way back then, and give me a shout out in the comments. But that's when XRP price chart just went absolutely ballistic. That was all the way back all the way back here. And yeah, these moves right here, man, wild moves. And then if we go on the normal chart, that's what it looked like. Holy moly. This was that's what we call a God candle right there. I mean, 1,412%. That is wild. Back then, the XRP, Jupiter was having a lot of positive transits with the XRP chart. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion, so in my mind, that really made a lot of sense. So the XRP2 chart, I like to weigh that a bit more. So that was the chart where we had a potential breakout around June 24th, so we'll see if that happens. That'll be June 23rd, United States time. The reason I don't cover XRP like all the time is because it's not always accurate. So we could have a breakout then, June 24th, but we also might not. So the accuracy it really follows the rest of the market. So Ethereum would have to break out really to really get a major XRP pump. And I know that's not the most popular opinion, but that's just kind of how things have worked historically for XRP. Is the altcoin market breaks out, XRP breaks out. XRP has never broken out just by itself without Ethereum moving as well. Okay, Fedwire to implement ISO 20022 on July 14th. Wow. Okay. Well, that could be bullish. We'll see. We'll see. Full ISO adoption scheduled for November 2025. Could this lead those coins to rip after BTC top? Yes, certainly possible. Certainly possible. And if we don't get a breakout this summer, then be leaning more towards the end of the year. Do you think alts can still go lower on BTC pairs? That's certainly possible, yeah. It's a little concern there. But, man, the markets are always difficult. You know, it's every single bull run, it's always tricky. So oftentimes when things are cheap, we're afraid that things are going to go down even more. I did buy a bunch more the past week or so. I'm still have like 6% cash. But yeah, I'm mostly in right now. And just in case we go lower, I could buy more. But yeah, There's definitely that feeling where things are like, oh shit, are we going to drop more? But historically, that can also be like, well, that's when things are about to recover as well. So super tricky here, guys. I'm in it with you. We're all in this together. Let's hold each other up, and wishing you all the best. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.